They represent the end of conversation itself. You can negotiate with kings, with tyrants, even with conquerors, but you cannot negotiate with winter. Winter doesn't care who you are. Winter is coming, as the Starks say. Which is why the political fighting in Westeros becomes almost darkly ironic. Everyone is obsessed with thrones and titles, while this ancient force is slowly moving south to erase all of it equally. The White Walkers as entropy. And this is where I think the White Walkers become more than fantasy villains. They almost become cosmic, because at their core, the others represent entropy, the slow movement toward coldness, stillness, and the death of all things, bring the absence of life itself. Even their armies reflect that idea. Individual identity disappears, the dead become interchangeable, personality vanishes, and humanity itself gets absorbed into this endless frozen mass, which honestly feels less like an invasion and more like the universe slowly shutting down. And maybe that's why their silence still sticks with people years later, because deep down the White Walkers tap into a very specific human fear, not hatred, but indifference. Hatred is still emotional. Hatred still acknowledges your existence, but the White Walkers feel completely indifferent to humanity, like we matter as little to them as snowflakes melting on the ground. And I think that's why giving them long speeches or complicated motivations would have actually made them less scary. The moment they fully explain themselves, they become understandable, smaller and less mythic. Thusly, to reach the conclusion, we might want to think about how the scariest thing about the White Walkers was never their strength, or their army, or even death itself. Maybe it was just their silence. The feeling that this ancient force marching towards Westeros doesn't hate humanity, it simply doesn't care whether humanity survives at all. I think that's more terrifying than any villain's speech could ever be.